This is Tony Wang from TWiT's, and today we're at Lytro, this brand new revolutionary camera company, and I'm here with the CEO and founder, Ren. Could you tell us a little bit of how this camera came about, how you found the company?
Yeah, for sure. I started researching in this area 8 years ago when I was doing my PhD at Stanford. And I was taking a lot of pictures at the time, really loved photography, taking thousands of pictures, every couple months. And I was doing research on something called the light field. This is a very important piece of theory in computer graphics that goes back to the mid 1990s. And I wanted to combine light fields with cameras to see if we could make a better kind of camera that could let you focus pictures after you took the shot.
Now, how did you get into light field? Because I know this has been around for, I think, 15 years. And it's interesting that no other camera manufacturer has gone into light field. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, light fields were introduced as a concept in the mid 1990s by Mark Lavoie and Pat Hanrahan, two professors at Stanford, and it quickly grew to become one of the most important ideas, influential ideas in the field. And they were studying it with some pretty large systems. Bennett Wilburn worked on his PhD with Mark Lavoie and another gentleman, another professor there, Mark Horowitz, and they built a 100-camera array, a really large room full of cameras, and a custom supercomputer to process and study the light field. And it was right around that time that I was doing my own photography and was just really excited about the special effects that they were getting from the camera array, but wanting to see it in the body of a single camera that I could use myself. And that miniaturization process was, involved both a new kind of sensor. So that's what we have inside the Lytro. Inside there's a new light field sensor that records the full light field coming in every shot, not just a photograph, as well as a lot of software to be able to process the light field and produce pictures. So there's a lot of science and engineering, a tremendous amount that's packed into this little camera here.
So, how long was this camera in the making?
For me, 8 years since the original theoretical work to come up with the concept after a lot of time in the library, in the engineering library and physics libraries. So first the concept, then some computer simulations, then some physical prototypes, then the one handheld unit that I made for my thesis. And then and then 5 years of company, and now we've grown into a really world-class team, about 60 people that have taken this, finally taken this big research innovation on light fields, taken it out of the lab and made it available for consumers.
What are the applications that you see for this camera?
For the beginning part of the company, we're focused like a laser on consumer. So let me talk a bit about the benefits of those. But before that, let me answer your question a little bit. What could light fields be used for? I think is what you're asking. And light fields are very generally applicable in computer science, in computer graphics, computer vision, and it's being very actively studied still in those communities to service many, many different kinds of applications. In computational photography and computational imaging, light fields with this kind of architecture that's in the Lytro camera could be applied to anything with a lens in front of a sensor. So it's been studied for research in microscopy. It could be used for industrial imaging, security cameras, for astronomy, perhaps lots of high-end imaging, low-end imaging, even for consumers. All of those are within the sort of application space for this raw technology. But Lytro is focused like a laser, as I said, on the first consumer camera to be brought out. And even here, the things that we're demonstrating for people, the number one thing is shoot first, focus later, right? So focus pictures after the fact. And that lets you get pictures instantly when you want to take the picture. And so when I was, back in 2003, trying to take a lot of pictures, what I was finding is that, and I'm sure you've had this experience as a photographer as well, capturing the right fleeting moment, whether you're shooting action or just your kids or trying to capture someone's expression at just the right moment, is very hard to do because typical cameras have a delay because of focus. So you press it and then it'll beep beep, and then it'll let you take the shot, right? And by that time the smile's not exactly the right way anymore, or candles are blown out on the cake or things like that. So for this camera, because you can shoot first, focus later, the Lytro has something we call an instant shutter. So you press the shutter button and it takes the picture just bang right away because the physical focus motors don't move while you're trying to take the shot. Unique.
So what you're saying is the lens doesn't move on the inside while you're taking the picture?
Exactly. And with a typical camera, it has to move, right? Because it has to physically focus. And for here, you can focus after the fact, so it doesn't have to make you wait.
And is there any sort of video application for this in the future?
Light field technology in this architecture is fully compatible with video, but for the first product, it's a still camera.
And is there any plans on having perhaps attaching this to like DSLR lenses in the future, and then sort of make like the sensor and the lens separately? Is that possible?
Never say never. But at the beginning point, it's on more focused on how do we make a really simple experience that is not more powerful, but at the expense of more complication. Rather, we were hearing from a lot of consumers that, cameras are kind of still too complicated for them. There's a lot of modes and buttons and dials and settings, and you have to read the manual to really understand how to use it. And we wanted to use this light field technology that we had, not to make that even more complicated, but rather to try to use it to simplify the camera, make it fast, really simple to take pictures. Now that's just the beginning for us, though, because the technology, as we were talking about, has very long legs and very broad applications. So in the future, for higher end imaging as well as lower end imaging, the company will certainly move to serve those markets as well.
So you're saying how you're simplifying the usage for regular consumers. Can you tell us about how many buttons there are on the camera?
Yeah, for sure. So, there's some pieces which are core to the technology, like shoot first, focus later, right? Shoot first, focus later means you don't have to have a half press. It means, you don't have to have, autofocus modes and, those kinds of things. So that's really core to a really important part of the camera. On top of that, technology innovation, Lytro is also very focused on product innovation in a Silicon Valley sense. And in the Silicon Valley, there's an ethos around product design, right, which is, I think, very familiar to all of us. It's like, do what is really needed to be done to make a great product for what consumers or the users really trying to do. And so when we heard from loud and clear from in our user research, from picture takers, from photographers, that cameras are still very hard to use because of the complexity, we stripped it all away, so there's only two buttons to your question, right? Shutter button on top, and on the bottom there's a power button. There's this zoom slider here, so you can control the zoom of the lens, and then everything else has been simplified into the lens simplified to the touch screen, rather, as a really nice feeling glass touch screen here with a very intuitive interface. The camera comes in 3 colors. So there's a red hot, there's a graphite, and there's an electric blue. And these two, the graphite electric blue, have 8 gigabytes of storage, rather, and priced at $399. And the red hot model has twice as much memory, 16 gigabytes internally, and that's priced at $499. So you'll notice, the iconic design, of course, where the camera really, is truly representative in its shape of something that, is a really new camera 3.0, new category of camera. And really form follows function in the camera, because this entire front section is the lens. And in fact, if I try to zoom this for you, you might be able to see the optical zoom going. I don't know if you can see that or not. You can see some of the lens elements moving. So this entire front section of the camera is the lens is an 8x optical zoom that has a constant f2 aperture. And for folks that know lens specifications, this is really unprecedented in the market. It's a really exciting lens and captures a tremendous amount of light and brings it to the sensor. Inside is that brand new light field sensor, record the full light field in every shot. And then the rest of this is the processing system that runs that light field engine software that turns the light field data into pictures. And then there's a glass touchscreen on the back. We've chosen some really beautiful materials for the Lytro. The team has worked really hard to have produced this really gorgeous anodized aluminum front section. It's very thin and yet very strong, so it feels substantial and yet lightweight in your hands. Feels really great. And the back section is made out of this precision silicone rubber.
and the team is really obsessed over the details here. It feels terrific under your fingertips because it has a really perfect amount of friction for great photography. And as we talked about, we stripped away the design, really design simplicity, something you really notice. Only has 2 buttons, a shutter button on top, power button on the bottom. If you look closely here, you might see some nubs here that you can feel under your fingertips. And this is how the zoom, it's a zoom slider for controlling the lens. Glass touchscreen on the back. And the last thing is a little USB door for micro USB port. And that's how you connect to power and to connect to your computer.
Here's this picture that we just took of Tony. Here's a good one. So here, sure enough, focused on Tony. Looks good. And what's going on in the background here? So if we focus in, this is what we mean by shoot first, focus later. And so there's a few shots of Tony here. We can go through. All looking good there, Tony. Looking great. Very nice. And we can, to share, we just select these guys and hit the share button. And here, I guess I will need my 2 hands. Here we go. Tony with TWiT visiting, and I can even post it directly to Facebook if we like. And so if I hit share, then these guys will now upload to the web. Now this is a part of my Facebook wall. And so directly here in the news feed, when you share these living pictures, and in a second the picture of Tony will come up too, the picture is a living picture. So directly in the news feed in Facebook, you have a picture that is interactive. You can zoom in. You can click to focus. And of course you can see where's the focus. This was on at the Tesla factory tour that I went on. You can shoot first, focus later. So here it says no petrol. And if we, let's see, so this kind of, here we go. These pictures of Tony have uploaded, and so here it is hosted on Lytro.com. And sure enough, right here is the picture of Tony. So a living picture. And when your friends and family, if you share it through email, so you can share it through email, or if you embed it in a blog, or share it through Twitter or Facebook, then your friends and family will come to see it, and they don't have to install any software to see this interactive living picture because of the way that we've designed this light field engine software to go with the picture. And in Facebook, if I come back to, where is it? Here, Facebook, if I refresh the page, sure enough, here directly in my wall, and therefore, for folks in my friends in their news feeds, they can get a picture, and directly in the news feed here, it's this living picture. So you can shoot first, focus later, and zoom in if you like, and click to focus.